Wife thinks cheating is okay, marriage over. I was driving down my street after work and saw a strange car in my driveway next to my wife's Camry. There was no room for me, so I parked at the curb and went inside. My wife was coming down the stairs in a bathrobe, untied. I caught a glimpse of her breasts underneath. "Honey," she cried anxiously. Her hair was disheveled, her cheeks flushed. A droplet of some opalescent gel flushed on her cheek. "I thought you were supposed to be in Cleveland tomorrow." Cleveland? I reached out and opened her robe a little wider. There were obvious bite marks on her breasts, fresh ones. She saw me frown and grabbed the robe, closing it. "It's not what it looks like," she sobbed. "Bite marks? Come on, man." "Don't think about it," I said. I walked back to the car and opened the trunk. I pulled out a clear plastic container and carried it into the house. Waving away my wife's desperate attempts to hug me, I climbed the stairs. "The stairs are right outside the east window. Try not to go down that drain." My wife froze in horror as we heard the window sliding open, followed by the sound of metal scraping against the siding, a short burst of startled screams, and the sound of a soft bag of something wet hitting the ground. "I hope he missed those hostas," I said in desperation. I went into the kitchen and searched for scissors in the junk drawer. Why do they pack some things in packages impervious to explosives? Is it too much to ask that the packaging be easy for us older folks to open? Yep. I used a pair of scissors to open the package and pull out my phone. It cost me $30 at the store. Seemed too cheap to work, but it did work. I pulled out a piece of paper I'd shoved deep in my wallet and dialed the numbers. "How did you get this number?" He was angry. Pity. Does it matter? Very important. I can't have the world leaking out like this. I wondered about his metaphor. Or was it an assimilation? Either way, it was pretty accurate. "I took it from that pie you use too often," I said. I heard him reprimand. "You really should diversify your characters. Repeating them in every story is weak." I smiled. Now let's talk about my wife and her lover. First of all, I've never been to Cleveland. I've never been to Cleveland. So the plot falls apart right from the start. I was driving down my street after work and didn't see any cars in my driveway except my wife's car. I parked and went inside. My wife was coming down the stairs wearing yoga pants and a loose sweatshirt. "Honey," she exclaimed, stroking me enthusiastically, "I've missed you terribly all day." I stepped back and caught her scratching her body. "What?" she asked. When I got home, I found my wife dressed for going out. I had not been informed that we were going out. "Honey," she said seriously, "we need to talk. Let me guess. You're on a date and it's not me." She glared. "Great, you approve." I held up a finger. "Yep, 1 second," and reached into my pocket for the torch. "What's the matter?" he replied, sighing. "You've got a whole toolbox full of tools, and you're reaching for the hammer on the very top. This wife goes on dates with an asshole. Besides, my wife doesn't want to go on a date with some other man." "Oh yeah? Look at her." I looked, and it was true. She was wearing a tight red dress that showed off her full breasts. "You cheater," I said. "My wife has perfect lush breasts." "You're welcome. Those monsters will give her back problems. Put them down right. She's not going anywhere today." He laughed caustically. "But think of the possibilities. Of course, the thought of your beautiful wife with another man for the first time in her life. Do you keep your notes on oilcloth or something? Angela worked as an escort in college. She confessed it to me the night before our wedding when I caught her in bed with my best man. Fortunately, I was in the SWAT team and I own a small company that sells covert surveillance equipment." "Yeah?" There was a strange note in his voice. "But none of that is true, is it?" "Number. But it does hurt you a little, doesn't it? You're here at Loving Wives, after all." "Maybe you should move us to romance." "Pfft," he snorted. "It's boring. Besides, think about your wife getting screwed by another man." He laughed an evil laugh. Maybe I should go back and edit you. You're a creative genius, but this script is sad. I don't mean sad in the sense of inadequate, but sad in the sense of sad. The marriage ends the moment the wife thinks it's okay to cheat. Of course, in this scenario, she openly says so, but that doesn't change the outcome. Everyone suffers. I don't want to suffer. I don't want my wife to suffer. You could invite them home so you can watch. What if I just forbid her to go out? Then it's not a very good story, is it? The quality of the story is your concern, not mine. We've been happily married for 15 years. You've been writing this for 15 minutes. You need to take advantage of my experience. And I'm telling you that this technique is not going to work. All right, he said with exaggerated desperation. I'll ignore the mixed metaphor, but only because I'm going to steal the phrase more men than police departments. It's yours, I replied, literally. I turned around, and my lovely wife, barefoot, wearing jeans and a They Might Be Giants t-shirt, was stirring risotto. There was a large red envelope in the mailbox. I opened it on my way to the kitchen. It was an invitation to a Christmas party to be held at the swankiest hotel in town. Honey, I said, is your company having a big party this year? She had just gotten home. Her attaché case was on the counter. She had kicked off her shoes and was pulling a bottle of white wine out of the refrigerator. Yes, she said tiredly. Next week at the Ritz. Old man Sheridan decided to throw a Christmas extravaganza. My wife is an attorney at the most powerful law firm in the state. She's rarely home, but the paycheck will be huge once she makes partner. I watch the kids, cook, clean, and work on my computer repair business that I run out of our basement. She wouldn't think of crashing the party, even though she works late into the evening as it is. It's a steely duty for the junior members of the firm. I have my doubts about this soiree. Her colleagues look down on me, call me Mr. Mom, and a bunch of other nasty things. I know because I planted a little recording device in her purse. I trust my wife, but I don't trust that asshole Sheridan. I've recorded him saying obsessive things to my wife many times, and I'm afraid this Christmas party... I looked out the window. Kids were jumping in the pool. I looked down. I was wearing shorts and Crocs. I had an iced tea in my hand. You moved Christmas to the middle of summer? I asked rhetorically. Oh no, I heard him mutter. Keys clicked in the background. Wait! It was too late. I looked outside again, and the snow was already falling. The kids were running to the back door, shivering in their bathing suits. My wife isn't a lawyer, I said. She's a librarian. I heard the clicking of keys. Stop! I shouted. She loves her job. She reads to little kids. She knows the Dewey Decimal System. Don't take that away from her. The clicking stopped. Libraries have Christmas parties, he said optimistically. But not the kind you're thinking of. What's that? I know this boss of hers is going to seduce her. Will he drug me? Will he drug her? Will she become the company cheater? Shared by all the top executives and some clients, all inexplicably videotaped and spread like cat memes? I'll bet $1 that the SEC will find that not only are they obsessed with sex and drugs, but they also cheated on their reporting. They'll all go to jail, but my wife will still end up worse than an anorexic teenager's waistband. Right? He muttered to himself. Anorexic teenager. Good point. Then louder. Sorry, just had to make a note. Make a note, I said. No Christmas parties, no company picnics, no nothing. Drop it. Okay, just this one time. I don't really like the company gathering scene anyway. I looked up as the bright sun peeked out again. The kids who had been frantically banging on the sliding glass door noticed the snow was gone and ran back to the pool. My wife walked in holding a tennis racket. She was dressed in white shorts and a modest short-sleeved blouse. Tennis at the club? I asked, more suspicious than I had any right to be. Getting lessons from Alberto? She froze. Guilty? At the club? She interjected. I thought we were going to go play on the courts in the park. What the hell are you talking about? I was already grilling steaks when my wife announced that we had guests coming over. Bill and Barbara had bought the Carlson house across the street, and my wife decided to make them feel good. Soon we were sitting on the patio with drinks. Bill was about my age and height, but he had a few pounds of muscle. I could see my wife furtively peering at his biceps. Barbara was an attractive blonde with wide blue eyes, a sensual mouth, and firm breasts that peeked out of her blouse. She didn't bother to put on a bra. I went into the kitchen to find some barbecue sauce. After a while, I discovered that it was stored under the sink behind the Brillo pads for some reason. Had we really alphabetized our condiments and cleaning supplies? Actually, that was a good idea. But was the space under the sink and to the right of the garbage disposal for kebabs and Brillo or for condiments and cleaning supplies? Still pondering this conundrum, I returned to the party just as Barbara was saying something to my wife about the Greek method. I perked up my ears. My wife turned to me with a bright, excited face. "Honey, Bill and Barbara are swingers. They want us to join them on Saturday and will give us some tips to get us started." I nodded, went back into the house and got the burner out. "What now?" He was impatient. "What's the matter?" I asked. "Are you trying to get grades on all the papers?" He hissed. "What?" "For your class. You teach 6th grade English, don't you? How much did you pay that private investigator?" I smiled. "Now that's another matter. I just heard our new neighbors discussing sex with my wife." "Yeah? That's not cheating. It's consensual sex." "Are you complaining?" "Not necessarily," I admitted. "That Barbara is an attractive babe. I'd do her without the written consent of Major League Baseball." I paused to listen to what I'd just said. "You're following the Red Sox through a different window, aren't you?" "Yes. As a matter of fact, I do." "And who's winning?" "The Dodgers win by 2 runs in the 7th. Dumb interleague game." "Very true. So what do you want?" I notice he's grading essays with his other hand. "I want them to stop looking to me for answers, begging me to talk again." "Cut the crap! I'm paying attention," she said. "Do you want to have sex with Barb or what?" "Sure, but first tell me if Bill has an advantage." "Statistically," he said, "probably not." "Okay, but this exchange thing could still go badly wrong. They could tie me up and make me watch them have a threesome. I could find out that my wife has been having sex with Bill for months, and this is all for a cover-up. You worry too much. I could sign you up for sex and you could try to sell them insurance." "Am I selling insurance?" "Not yet, but at this rate I might make you boring." I growled into the burner. "I'll show you boring." I stepped out onto the deck. "Bill, you can take my wife home and have sex with her. Barb and I will do it here. Unless you all like to have sex in the same room so we can watch each other. In that case, we should all have sex on the double bed in our room." To my amazement, I was not greeted with the enthusiasm I had expected. Instead, Barbara reached up and delivered a hard blow to my left cheek. My surprise and pain were only partially mitigated by the magnificent sight of her breasts. Bill muttered a few curses, grabbed Barb's hand, and walked out of our yard. I turned to my wife, rubbing my cheek. "I thought—" She slapped my other cheek. She had a great backhand punch. "Ow! What? You asshole!" she yelled. "What were you thinking? I thought you said they were swingers." She stepped back to hit me again, but I jumped out of her wheelhouse. "You're an idiot! They're slingers, slingists. They shoot targets with slingshots, you know, the biblical weapon. It's the fastest-growing sport in America, you stupid asshole. How can you watch so much ESPN and not know that?" "It's ESPN, honey, and—" She covered the distance faster than I intended and slapped me again. I think I got blisters. I ran into the house, slammed the door shut, and locked it. I grabbed the burner. "Thanks a lot, dumbass." "Hey, spell check can't catch when I accidentally type slinger instead of swinger. Both words are perfectly legal." "Do you ever proofread your words before you hit the publish button?" Now I was furious. My cheeks were burning and my wife was pounding on the latch. That door was going to swing open from one of those vignettes. Who had time for this? I have to write another one to stay in the Stories of New Loving Wives ribbon. You'll do it, I shouted. Just leave me and my wife. I looked over to where my wife was dragging a large rock onto the porch, presumably to break the sliding glass door. Ex-wife doesn't get involved. We have enough problems without your crazy conspiracies. Yeah? What are you going to do about it? I'm going to write on you in the comments. That froze him. The vision of a denuded, misogynistic mob coming into his house like The Walking Dead, waving burning printouts of every article he'd ever published that even smelled like RAAC, filled him with dread. You wouldn't be able to. I'd have to erase everything and start over under a new name. I have over 1,000 subscribers. Take it or leave it, I said. Behind me, there was a heavy thud, like a stone against quartz. Fortunately, my wife, though pretty, is small. He thought for a moment. All right, he said. All right, just for you. I love you too, man. He laughed. You do realize that the reason I'm so nice to you is because you're me, at least part of me. I know, I said. So why are you such a jerk? I don't know. Maybe I need therapy. Stop! I shouted. Don't! Any story with a therapist turns into a clusterfuck, rest assured. Okay, but what do we do now? I have to do something. I thought about it. Who was the asshole in part 1? The one who had sex with my wife in my own bed. Bill Jenkins drove home from work. He carefully climbed out of the car. His broken ribs and arm had already healed, but his fractured pelvis was healing slowly and still hurt. The latter had slipped. Good thing the bed of hostas had been recently planted and the soil was still relatively soft. His wife met him at the door with a passionate kiss that surprised him. For the past few weeks she had been aloof and cool, but today she was kissing him. She pulled down her robe to show him her body. Bill gasped. He hadn't seen her without her clothes on in weeks, and yet something was wrong. He sniffed. Her lush, curly hair smelled of men's cologne. It wasn't his brand. She led him by the hand into the living room. On the coffee table, he saw 2 things. One was obviously a pregnancy test, recently used, but he couldn't make out what marks were visible in the small window. Next to it lay a metal object that was vaguely familiar to him. The metal was a small curved cylinder that looked like a tiny cage. Through the tiny latch was an equally tiny padlock. His beautiful wife held out a tiny key. A cough was heard upstairs. A man's cough. Darling, his wife said, we need to talk. The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.